Hello everyone, for this video I've returned to Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. In this particular area, close to the Southern Chapel, has got some of the most interesting headstones and graves in the whole cemetery, and I'm going to show you a couple of interesting ones. I've written stories on some of them in the usual spots on Facebook, but some I haven't. Now, this particular one, I wrote the story, A Place of Her Own, about the lady who this headstone's story is all about. It all started in 1845 when Sarah Grace Ormondy was born in Bishopwearmouth. She was the daughter of Grace Forrest of Whitby and John Ormondy of Cumberland. He was a master shoemaker. Now, in 1867, she married this gentleman here, Robert Featonby, who was the son of a Wesleyan preacher and coal miner from over Eastern, I think it's close to Shotton, around that area, Shotton Colliery. And the two of them were married in 1867. Now, they had a son called Robert Ormondy who was born a couple of months later. They were married in July. Robert was born in October of 1867. That was the son. Now, sadly, as it says, in memory of Robert Featonby, who died in India April 11th, 1869, aged just 24 years. Now, Robert was a mining engineer, and I've never been able to find out whether Sarah, his wife, and young Robert actually were out in India with him. There is a chance that there could have been. So this stone was erected in memory of her husband. A lot of young widows and widowers who were left with a child, if they were lucky, could go and live with the parents, and that is exactly what Sarah did. She went back home and lived with her parents. But sadly, on the December the 28th, 1873, the son, who was called Robert Ormondy Featonby, he died aged 6 years, and his epitaph is, "Thy will be done." So Sarah had lost a husband and her only child in the space of, 4 years, and she was back home. She never remarried, she never had any more children, and she went into the service of Thomas William Backhouse of West Hendon House. So she was his servant for over 30 years, probably close to 40. And West Hendon House was that nice big house on Ryop Road, just behind Backhouse Park. It was Thomas who actually donated the land for Backhouse Park. So Sarah stayed there in his service. He died in 1920, and he must have thought a lot of Sarah, as he left her £100 in his will. And she had already bought a house in 20 Ennerdale in the middle of Ashbrook. And at the very bottom, also Sarah Grace Featonby, relict of the above named Robert Featonby, who died November the 29th, 1926, aged 81 years. So a long life was brought to an end. When she died, she'd left about £1,000 in her will, which was about over £50,000 a day. So I often think of Sarah, when she had time away from her work duties, she probably made the journey up here to pay respects to her late husband and a young son. Even though her husband was buried in India, I don't know which particular bit of India it was, but it would have been quite a bit of a journey from in the middle of Ashbrook all the way up to Bishopwearmouth Cemetery. The reason why Bishopwearmouth Cemetery was built here is because the land was cheap, so the council purchased this particular site. Same with me and Knowles and Grangetown, or Sunderland Cemetery, because the land was cheap, and so it was literally for many years in the middle of the countryside up here. It was a lovely spot. So, as it mentions in there, she was the relict of the above named Robert Featonby. A relict was a widow who never remarried. By coincidence, the next grave to it is about the Athe family. Let's give you a look at that. This deserves a video on its own because they had an interesting life. I'll show you that. Somehow, that's one of the few burial plots which has still got its ornate metal surround. Apologies for the wind, I forgot the mufflers on the camera. But I'm just going to have a look at a few more headstones. Some cool old surnames. Snary. Ingledew I can just see. Lots of master mariners. This is Thomas Sharp, master mariner, who died at sea September the 10th, 1876 on the passage from Batavia to Marseilles, aged 40 years, safe from the cares of the world. Also 2 children died in infancy. Batavia was like the Dutch East Indies, so imagine a journey like that in 1876 all the way back. Right, on Elizabeth Donaldson, daughter of John Donaldson, Esquire, late 44th Regiment. I've never even looked into the story of that one. I have to find out what the 44th Regiment was. There was quite a lot of master mariners around this particular area. Brecon. In memory of George Gibson, who departed this life February 19th, 1877, aged 49 years. This stone was erected by a few of his personal friends. It's a nice gesture from them. There's an example. Sadly, that one's suffered a bit of deterioration. With all these plots, even you can find out who was buried if you go onto the burial plans for the cemetery, so there's always a way to find out who is buried in a particular spot, even if it's an empty space. There's another one, Robert Baker, master mariner, and as an epitaph: I have lost a tender husband dear, his body rests beneath this sod, his soul I trust is free from care, safe in the keeping of my God. So another master mariner. There's a good surname, Mork. Can't remember whether he was from Norway, somewhere like that. Now this one, I have written about this particular headstone. How fine that is. This is in memory of Henry Charles Bond, late of the Lyceum Theatre, Sunderland, who departed this life October the 2nd, 1873, aged 40 years. He was it's called a prompter in a theatre, so I'm not too sure if he ever got to be an actor, or he was one of these people who just weren't good enough to be an actor, so he was a prompter, so he would stand on the side of the stage and remind people of the lines and organise things. And as you can see, that looks like a scroll, which he would have stood there on a lectern, keeping an eye on things. What's this? Strangers may pause to mark who sleepeth below, who sleeps below, perchance a friend may read, perchance a foe. What can they learn that joy, affection, trust, and in dust to dust. Sorry, it's a bit difficult to say that last line. So this is quite an old section of the cemetery, and in a prime position close to the cemetery chapel up there. So I have to remember if I can spot anybody else might be of interest. This is a tragic one. This is for members of the Heatherington family. If I remember, I think he was from Cumberland and lived near Crowtree Road, around that area. That's his first wife, Alice, who died 30th day of May 1873, aged 49 years. Their children, and if you look there, 1854 was a really bad year. January the 25th, George died, age 1. 3 days later, January the 28th, the same year, Thomas Johnson Heatherington died, another son who was 2 years and 8 months. Then, it's about 10 days later, on February the 8th that year, Hannah died, age 6. And then there was another child who died 1865, not lost but gone before. And then there was Thomas, who died in 1875, age 15. Annie Grace, who died 1879, age 19. And then by coincidence his second wife was called Alice, and she died 1883, age 60 years. So in this, what's that, in the space of, that's 2 wives in the space of 10 years. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of his children didn't reach 20. This is another one. It's about a life cut short, and it's erected by John Peterson in loving memory of Minnie, who was, her real name was Mary Elizabeth. That was like shortened for it in her sort of nickname. She died aged 25 years in 1884, and it was actually put up by her fiancé. You don't often see the betrothed. If I remember correctly, the Peterson family were from the Shetland Isles. Like a lot of. See, there's somebody else, Mary Elizabeth. Oh, she's named twice. It's the same person. So she's mentioned twice, and 2 stones next to each other. Another mariner, Henry Barnes, master mariner, who died at Constantinople. And there's somebody else, Mark Allen, nephew of the above, who perished on the brig Rover. And this is another slate one. You can see how they always keep up well. There's Michael Hunter, Quartermaster Sergeant of the Sunderland Rifle Volunteers. They were like an early form of the TA. This one you can actually see what the profession of the person was. The burial place of Ralph Brown, a grocer of Bishopwearmouth. Lived a good age, 80 years, and his wife 78. A lot of people did live to a good age. Just a lot of people died in infancy. I'll show you this one. This one is for Thomas J. Horsley. He's an artist. I bet not many people have. That actually mentions artist. Not many people have heard of him. I've done a couple of stories on him. he was a miniature portrait painter, so he used to do these little miniatures you could put in like pockets, pendants and things like that. He would go to country houses, paint the people, and then they would buy the little thing off him. His father was an artist as well, who did the famous painting of John Wesley when he came to Sunderland. Just have a look over here. There's thousands of headstones. Another master marionette. Thomas Cook. Barrow Forth, Hind, Miller, John Hall. Another slate one. If every headstone was made of slate, it probably last forever. Right, I'm off. Got my shopping to do. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy that little tour of Bishopwearmouth Cemetery, please give the video a like and click on subscribe if you wish to. So thank you all for watching.